Hi everyone, this is Chris with a little heads up for you about this week's episode. I had a little issue with my audio at the start, so I sound really quiet. Ellie sounds great as always. It only lasts about 30 seconds, but we wanted to let you know, so you stayed with us for the duration of the episode since it's one of our favorites. Thanks for listening. Hi, welcome to Wired
and Rewired, a podcast all about the HBO original series, The Wire.
I'm Chris, and this is my 1000th time watching The Wire.
And this is Ellie. It's my first time.
And whether you're new to the force or a longtime veteran, we think you're going to find something here to enjoy. So, welcome to the show. Ellie, we are here to discuss episode 4.
Episode 4.
Season 1, episode 4, Old Cases. The recap. Riggs and McNulty try to get Hard Case. Hard Case. This is from the iTunes description. Who is Hard Case? It's capital H. I'm sorry. I'm totally
Whoa, really?
Okay, to turn informant as arraignment begins for those caught in the raid. Barksdale places a bounty on the head of a rival gang leader, Omar. Meanwhile, McNulty takes Bubbles on a cultural field trip, and Herc and Carver try to track down both.
All right.
This episode was written by David Simon and it was directed by Clement Gordon. So, episode 4. What are your initial reactions?
I loved this one. This episode is so good. There's so many layers to this one. Just a lot of character development, a lot of backstory that I found really interesting, and just love seeing how they are getting really creative with how they're going to hopefully take down Avon Barksdale.
Yeah, I talk about this episode in terms of, I tell people, if you get to episode 4 and are not enjoying the show at this point, it might not be a show for you.
Yeah.
But if you get to episode 4 and you get through it and you are into it, you will enjoy the rest of the series. There's so many elements of the show that are kind of introduced, not in terms of story, but just about the way that they tell the story that really tells you what the creators of the show are kind of about and how they approach telling the story and things like that. So I just really, it's just one of my favorite episodes, and I always love to hear people's reactions when they first get to it. So, and one of the things that, I really appreciate about the way that you approached this when we were getting set up was to talk about, it's not just, there are too many scenes to kind of cover in sort of the standard way, and you really have to kind of look at it with almost like a new lens. So,
Yes.
And which again, I really appreciate because it really feels like it's a shift.
It is.
For the story. So,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so before we get into the episode, I did want to make one comment about episode. I spent some time, more time than I probably should have. I asked you last time about episode 3 about why Rhonda got back with McNulty, even though she said no. And then I had forgotten to mention that the song playing in Rhonda's house was Too Cool to Be Forgotten by, wait a minute,
That could not
Lucinda
be a more
Williams.
perfect song. Lucinda Williams.
And then it kind of all clicked for me, like just that McNulty has this pull.
Yeah.
I mean,
cool.
she was attracted to in the first place.
Yes.
And so that's how she can say no and try to push him away. And he's like, okay, well, I respect you. And then
fine.
boom. For those listening, like Ellie then schooled me on a few other components that were also in play, but they're not really relevant to this song. So I just thought that was a pretty funny message. So, and then the other thing we forgot, and I'm going to cheat here, is the Mr. Nugget life lesson from episode 3.
Yes.
And the one that came to mind was just,
Don't write your pager number on the side of a
yeah. I mean, don't
apartment
leave,
building or
don't,
whatever. Yeah.
Don't leave an obvious phone number on the stash house
idea.
wall. So if you're in a stash
with your
house,
initial.
put it on a Post-it note or, keep it in your pocket.
For sure.
Like that. So,
For sure.
Anyway, why don't you do the epigraph for us?
Yeah, the epigraph for this one, thin line between heaven and here, said by Bubbles.
Yeah, and what's really important about that is that we're going to go into the backstories and how that epigraph really plays a role as we go into some of the backstories, and then we'll also cover the storylines kind of independently. So that just to set everybody up, if you're expecting us to go scene by scene, it's going to be a little bit of a different setup. So let's talk about what backstory do you want to hit first?
Backstory I want to hit first. Okay, So let's talk a little bit about Bodhi.
Okay.
Yeah, so we start with Bodhi. Bodhi wakes up and he's in juvie and he is beat up. He is looking terrible, feeling terrible. And, you know, he like kind of right off the bat, he wants to know who's in there with him and finds out that it's not people from West Baltimore like him, that it's DC boys. And I think he knows that this means nobody's going to have his back.
Yep.
He's going to get jumped probably in there. I mean, you right off the bat get like these faces of boys that just look like, you know, don't mess with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And he quickly escapes while Herc and Carver are on their way there, you know, fantasizing about how this is going to lead to a huge break, how they're going to scare the shit out of Bodhi and get their huge break on this case. They don't, but this means that Herc and Carver are now on the hunt for Bodhi, and as part of that, they stop at Bodhi's grandmama's house because he lives clearly with his grandma. And we learn, you know, more about Bodhi and how he made his way into this life of selling drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really pretty sad.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is why, you know, this is one of my favorite episodes, except for all the terrible parts about it.
Exactly. Except for how freaking sad it is.
I mean, right, exactly. I mean, and that we'll connect that to another storyline here in a minute. But before I forget, so the Boys Village that they talk about is actually David Simon wrote this other book called The Corner. And in that book, he talks in some detail about Boys Village. So this is like the real institution where there's a lot of fighting. In the very first episode, D'Angelo talks about how everybody's beefing. And I thought that maybe he was talking about Boys Village, but I think he's actually talking about the city jail.
Oh, okay.
So I thought for a moment that might have been what he was referring to. But in any case, that was a real place. And just to bring it back to Bodhi's grandmother, I don't know that actress's name. And she plays it so well.
She is so good at
it. And so it's kind of it's just a shame that like this cameo. I was going to give her the killer cameo award, but unfortunately I can't because I didn't even I looked around, I couldn't find out who the actress was.
Hey, woman who played the grandma, you were really good.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And the thing too, of course, is that I mean, I could probably go on and on about it, but you know the way that she has police in her house, and she's not
folding laundry. Nope.
It's just like clearly this is something she's been through before, and it is not affecting her even in the slightest. And
they're going upstairs. They're like knocking shit around and stuff. You can tell they're probably making a mess up there, and she's just doing her thing because she's done this before.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, you know, of course, then she explains like the situation, and I think that in terms of Bodhi's backstory, you just sort of realize, like, can you imagine? I can't, but a 4-year-old being in that environment.
Yep.
I mean, what kind of development can a person have?
Exactly. Like his mom was totally into drugs, and that's why he lives with her. And yeah.
And then, I mean, to lose your mom, I mean, even no matter how angry you are, to lose your mom at 4 years old has got to be really, really hard. So, you know, and I think that even from his grandmother's perspective, it feels really like she tries to connect with him. She tries to be, you know, a loving presence, but if he's angry,
right,
how much can you get through to him?
Exactly. So, what else is he going to do? It didn't make it, or it made sense to her that this is where he went with his anger. Yeah, I will say too about that particular scene, this is mostly about learning about Bodhi, but we see that Herc has a heart, and I just think he's a meathead all of the time. Even, oh my God, you know, that we'll talk about the desk scene at the beginning later, but he's just such a freaking meathead. But then he is, you know, he realizes how rude they've been and how heartless, and he sits down and he listens to her and he holds her hand for a minute and apologizes, and like, you know, it opened up a place in my heart for him.
And I thought that there's not a whole lot of Herc and Carver in this, so let's just tie it. I think we can just tie it in a bow because it's a bit of a contrast when they're driving. Herc and Carver are driving down to Boys Village, and Carver, while I think that he's completely misguided in like, we're just going to scare the crap out of Bodhi and he's going to fold immediately or whatever. He also is kind of, you can see he's taking a little bit of a bigger view, like, hey, this is an opportunity, and if we do it right, we can break the case wide open. And Herc's like, oh, hey, I never thought about it like that. And then in the next scene with Herc and Carver, he is just taking a moment. He's not doing the task that's immediately in front of him. He's thinking about it. So you see a little bit of growth from each of these people, and we'll see where they ultimately end up going. But yeah, that's it was kind of a touching moment from Herc, and it's certainly surprising.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
But then I think I do. This is the first of the boys on the orange couch. This is, besides D'Angelo, who's not a boy, this is the first backstory we're getting on any of those boys. So it seems kind of significant since so much centers around them and what they do there.
Yeah.
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 Other backstory I want to talk about, Polk.
Okay.
Let's talk about Polk a little bit. Polk and Mahone. And why are you being so noisy?
I'm sorry. Well, because I'm trying to interrupt you.
That's okay.
I need you to be a professional here. Come on.
It's fine. But so we have this. It's okay. So
I'm sorry. We can cut all this out.
God, you're so noisy. He's trying to get comfortable. Okay.
There we go.
Right there. Okay. So are you good?
I'm good. I'm good.
Now? All right. So let's see here. Mahone. So here's what's crazy, right? Mahone he was just punched by Bodhi in the face. How was his whole shoulder and back and shit messed up?
Well, I think that what happened was
did he just fall
when
too
he
hard?
When he fell. Yeah, it was when he got hit and
so
fell.
sad that he got punched, but really his injuries are from him being old and overweight and out of shape and falling. Really.
I mean,
yes. But good for him in his mind, because right now he can leave with, special pay or honors or benefits or whatever. I can't remember what all they were.
66 and 2/3 pension.
66 and 2/3 pension, and he's gonna go work with his brother-in-law at his video store and make a bunch of money on videos and porn. So yay for him. And he's so happy about it. Daniels comes in and is like, hey, think about it again if you don't want to. And he's like, no way. No, he absolutely knows this is what he wants to do. And then, Polk is like, what am I going to do without you? I mean, now I'm stuck. It's just me. And Mahone tries to tell him, like, hey, those stairs, why don't you, just take a dive off those stairs?
Yeah.
And, we see later in the episode him at the top of the stairs just sweating and looking at those stairs and thinking about it and almost kind of bracing himself to just about fall. That's how incredibly unhappy he is until McNulty and whoever, I can't remember, Kima come into the stairwell, and he decides quickly against it or covers out of shame, right?
Yeah.
So just seeing that was it's depressing.
Yeah, I think that the line, you can't say we don't deserve it, that Mahone delivers. I mean, it just kind of really speaks to this entitlement level. And, I think that certainly there are, I will say, not just the police, there are people in every profession that believe they're entitled to something.
Yes.
But when it is a police officer, it really just feels a little bit like they're doing a public service.
Right.
And to think that you're entitled to anything in particular is,
But the guy, he worked in property crimes, right? Not even like he worked in narcotics or homicide, like these probably what I would imagine to be really high stress police jobs. He worked in property crimes and spent most of his time dodging work and drinking.
Yep.
And he would rather just... It makes you wonder, too, what were those two like at the beginning of their time on the force? I would love to see, a picture of a young Polk and Mahone in their neat uniforms and just, smiling with their badges and stuff. So, that was kind of interesting.
So we say goodbye to Mahone.
We say goodbye to Mahone. Oh, no more Mahone. Mahone doesn't come back anymore.
I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler, but no, he says,
Oh, so that makes me wonder then if Polk even stays on the team without a partner.
Good question.
Or if he goes
Good question.
back to property crimes. Okay. So, that's what you get, Polk. Sorry. Okay. And then let's see here. Wanted to talk about Freeman. Let's talk about Freeman. Okay. Freeman is just badass. He's so cool. Right. We again see, in the last episode, Freeman, who we think is kind of just, basically going to do clerical stuff and work on dollhouse furniture, comes up with the Avon connection to the Golden Gloves. And then this time is the one that figures out, we'll get more into the storyline later, but that the pager belongs to D'Angelo.
Mhm.
And McNulty gets really curious about him, talks to Bunk about him, and we find out he is, as they like to say, real police.
Natural.
Natural police.
Yeah.
Thank you. You can dub that in later.
That's fine.
Okay. Natural police, that he was in homicide and he was a really good homicide detective and basically got pushed out of his job once again for doing the right thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Seeing that time and time again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, so there are a couple of things about that I just to add to a couple of details, I guess. And I just picked this up today is if you're listening to the music in the background while Freeman is telling his story, there's a shift in the song itself. And that's when Freeman kind of really opens up the whole story, which I thought was just a really neat component to it. But in any case, the thing that really stood out to me that I love is the dialogue between Freeman and McNulty after Freeman asks him that he's I think this is where he says you're real police.
Yeah.
Natural
police.
Well, no, so he says so you're a police after all.
Okay, that's what his line is.
So you're a police after all. You know what you're doing, but you ain't been doing it. How long you been in the pawn shop unit?
13 years and 4 months.
13 years?
And 4 months.
I gotta ask you, what exactly does a police officer assigned to the pawn shop unit do?
You intake reports from registered pawn shops on all items valued over $50. Then you make an index card for that item. Then you file that index card. If someone wants to find out if something stolen has been pawned, we look to see if we have an index card. If we do, we do. If we don't, we don't.
You did that for 13 years?
And 4 months.
Why'd you ask out of homicide?
Wasn't no ask about it.
You got the boot?
Uh-huh.
What'd you do to piss him off?
Police work.
And so when you listen to the dialogue, I got the sense that Freeman has given this speech. He has been asked, "What do you do in the pawn shop unit?" And he has answered it so many times.
Yeah.
And if you watch, he's like playing with with this furniture, and he just exactly, and he can just recite it in his sleep because he's been asked so many times, and he finds it so boring.
Yeah.
And the way the dialogue, the way the rhythm of the conversation is just so great. But yeah, you got this insight in the last episode. Kima saw it.
Yes.
And then now McNulty saw it and
Yes.
sees it, and then you get it a little bit. And you had called it last time.
Yeah.
Like you saw that he pulled off the pager number.
Yes.
And then...
Yes. And even the look that McNulty gives Freeman is almost the same as the look that
Exactly.
Kima gives
That's
Freeman
exactly
in the
right.
previous episode,
That's
right?
exactly
like the
right.
two most valuable players on the team are seeing this guy are like, holy shit,
Yeah.
he's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I loved that development of his character, and just seeing that he has so much more depth is really cool.
Yeah.
I'm loving that.
Yeah. And so the question I would have to ask is like, do you see Freeman as like McNulty's possible future?
Yeah,
Did you pick
I
that
mean,
up?
because Freeman even says that when they ask
Yeah,
you
yeah.
what you really don't want to do or whatever. I can't remember
Where you
exactly
don't wanna go.
Where you don't want to go, because Freeman's like you're headed there.
Yep.
With the way that you're doing things, you're headed there, and yeah, for sure, you make that connection. I think McNulty is just like
Yeah.
fuck it, that's not going to happen to me in his mind. But
Well, that's the interesting question, right?
Yeah.
And so I know we want to talk about McNulty's
Yeah.
backstory, so let's finish off because we'll come back to
Yeah.
that. And I think that the Freeman backstory really is quite. I think that what I appreciate about it is that 13 years ago, doing the right thing wasn't rewarded, right? So this is not a new thing. And so if you don't mind, let's talk about the desk, because I think that this is it's a good segue into like the desk scene.
Yes.
Because Freeman is an example of how institutions just don't change.
Right.
So let's talk about the desk scene.
The desk scene.
Because I want to connect it to Freeman.
love
Because
the
I
desk
got to ask off the top. Is Freeman an asshole? Because he's sitting there watching this and he knows that there's a misunderstanding and he doesn't. He just watches the whole thing. I love Lester Freeman, but is he an asshole?
I know. He is an asshole. He is.
Okay, but let's set that aside. That's not relevant.
Yes.
So talk about the scene.
Okay.
then.
This is the first scene in this episode. It is so awesome. You see Herc is trying to, meathead that he is trying to muscle this desk through a doorway, and he can't do it. So, a couple others join. Carver gets on the other side, and they're trying to muscle this desk through the doorway. Cinder comes, McNulty comes. They're all trying to get through it. And then even Daniels comes, and he's just like, he takes off his jacket, rolls up his sleeves, and they're just, trying to get, they're heaving and pushing or whatever. And they finally quit. Herc says something to the effect of, I could get it to move a little bit when it was just me, but I don't know, must be jammed. And I think he says, we're never going to get it in there. And they're like, in?
Well, at this rate, we're never going to get it in. What?
In.
Unbelievable. Unbe-fucking-lievable.
Christ.
And you see, or you realize that they realize. I mean, you can kind of see it when you're looking. It looks like they're pushing against each other the entire time. They've been working at cross purposes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's just this amazing metaphor for other elements of what's going on, right? They are working at cross purposes. They are totally working. They're on the same team, and they're working against each other.
You nailed it exactly.
It's
right on
so
the money.
smart. I just love that they open with that.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I mean, I have nothing to add. That is perfectly said. I think that if there's only, sorry, I will add one small thing, which is, again, like the best scene in this episode is the investigation with Bunk and McNulty. But what I love about this is that there is no real argument. You know what I mean? Like they could have added so much language and like, wait, what do you mean? I was pushing.
Right.
They could have just added all this, and all McNulty says, he goes in, and and Daniels goes, Christ.
Exactly.
And it's just, and that's it. And it just lands the whole joke. It's perfect. It's just perfect. Yeah.
I know.
So
it's so great.
But of course, and the reason I mentioned that part is that it just shows that they're really, hey, we are done explaining stuff. We're going to only explain what absolutely has to be explained.
Yes. You better be smart enough to just pick up on the rest of it.
Yeah. So that was that's it. Just, and well done. Well,
yes.
That's, I mean, picking up that the symbolism.
No, I love that. I thought that was really, really smart. I think it's just understanding what the intention of the writer, what are the cross purposes that the writers are thinking about when they have that scene there, because I think there's a lot that it could potentially be symbolic of.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't want to go too far, because I mean, if you look at that and think about characters further down the line, those cross purposes, you can probably spend quite a lot of time just thinking about how they're trying to satisfy two masters, whatever it is. So, but I'll leave it there.
Okay.
All right. So what's the last backstory you want to cover?
McNulty.
Yeah.
Let's talk about McNulty.
Let's do it.
So, all right, couple things. Let's start with, because I think this actually is stuff we already knew about, something we already knew about McNulty, but just to kind of emphasize, when Keeley is trying to appeal to Rawls to bring McNulty.
Landsman.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wait, who is it?
Sergeant Jay Landsman.
That's the
Keeley was the detective that
Keeley's
had
the
case
detective.
that had the case before they investigated.
Okay.
So Landsman is the sergeant.
Landsman is the sergeant. He's the one that's appealing to Rawls.
Correct. Yes, exactly.
Okay. To bring McNulty back into homicide.
Yep.
And I mean, he does it in the most disgusting way possible. It's so gross and unappealing and not even funny to me, but that's cool. I'm sure a lot of you guys thought it was funny. No,
no, and
I think it's so gross, but it is kind of endearing, because it's he's doing it for McNulty, and he knows that approaching it with humor and also debasing himself like that is the way to get Rawls to loosen up.
And I think that the fact that he is using this super vulgar, but this story where he can't even concentrate on
exactly.
on something so basic for him
Yes.
Because of Jimmy McNulty. It really helps to kind of bring the point home that
Yes.
this is like a problem for him that he wants to solve.
Yes, exactly. And it's I mean, I count it as backstory on McNulty because it just goes to show like how appreciated he is on his team, how much he stands out from the others on in Homicide. That is what Lance, what's his name?
Yeah, Landsman.
Landsman is going to go to bring him back.
Yeah.
And it works.
Yeah.
Well, I think anyway.
Yeah. Well, so we will. So Rawls says at the end, he's got 2 weeks to wrap it up. And then he's back in the fold.
Yeah.
So
I mean, my only thing that puts me on pause about that is because like I feel like the last episode wasn't a Santangelo was like gonna be is basically Rawls is like, keep an eye on it, or I just feel like he wants Santangelo to figure out that McNulty's doing something wrong or stupid, or give him a reason to not bring him back.
Right. Well, and I think that is where Landsman comes in. Is he either Landsman knows that Rawls has already made a decision that McNulty's not coming back, or whatever. But Landsman is trying to convince Rawls to bring him back and forget about whatever he had planned. Landsman might not have known anything about what Santangelo was supposed to do. But Landsman wants him back. He's just pleading for McNulty to come back anyway.
I bet he knows, though. He seems like he knows everything.
Yeah, he probably
does. Yeah.
So one thing that I didn't really think about, and now I can't believe I missed it, but it's so obvious, is, there's not a ton of bubbles in this. Well,
I know.
Sorry.
That is like my one complaint about this episode.
I catch myself though.
Bubbles.
But he's in like 3 scenes, and the 3 scenes he's in, he just kills it. I just can't.
He does.
Andre Royo is so good.
So good.
But the reason I mention that is because, of course, he delivers the epigraph, which is this thin line, and he himself is an addict. Yes. And so to hear Landsman talk about how McNulty is an addict and how McNulty's addiction is what is like, pulling him across that line the same way that happened with Bubbles. I think when I saw it originally, that line that Bubbles delivers, and we haven't talked about Elena yet, but is, it's a thin line between, the suburbs and living in the city, but it's not about that for McNulty. McNulty's not at risk of being on the street, but he isn't at risk of like letting his addiction lead him down this dark path. And so it's a really, I didn't pick it up, but you're just like, I understood what Landsman was saying, but it never, that connection never really made it. I have to give Alan Sepinwall, who's the TV credit guy, I have to give him credit for that. So he will come back up in this episode. So, but yeah, so anything on the Elena side of the backstory that,
who's Elena?
The ex-wife.
Oh, the ex-wife. Yeah. So that scene, the soccer field scene, is sad. We learn that McNulty, his son loves him. He's wanting to be there for his son to the point that he brings Bubbles with him.
Right.
The way that Elena does not even shake Bubbles' hand.
Right.
Bothers me. But I mean, you bring like a druggie to my kid's soccer field, and I'm probably gonna not shake his hand either, to be honest with you. But the exchange between them is disheartening. I feel like McNulty's an asshole here. Like totally, just the whole fuck you exchange that they end up having because he wants to have more time, and says, well, my lawyer says I don't have to give you any more. We have 50-50, and if you can't make that 50 that's yours work, then too bad.
Right.
So yeah, at first I was feeling sad for him. I was feeling bad for him, but then I also was kind of like, why has she got to rearrange everything? They're divorced now. Why does her life have to be controlled by his life, like his work, like that's probably why they were divorced. Also the infidelity, but that's probably why, a big part of why they were divorced in the first place. And yeah. I don't know. What's your take?
Well, so I think the problem for McNulty gets introduced when he, this is where I think the old wounds are relevant, right? Like you can be, like whenever I see my brother, I feel like I'm 8 and he's 10 again, you know what I mean? And I like immediately like that again. So even though, we're now 40 years older than that, it doesn't matter anymore because I'm always going to be in that mindset. And because initially, like I thought, so McNulty makes it out to the game and she immediately gives him like this guilt trip. And so he gets mad at her, like, and he's already in a defensive posture. And so his response is to attack and, and it creates this like really terrible dynamic.
It does.
And, but of course, like as Bubbles mentioned last time, she's probably getting even. So she's probably just got all this resentment built up.
Yeah.
And I can't fault her for that. Like you get cheated on. I mean,
right.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's going to last a long time. So, but once that conversation starts going down that path, you're watching, you're like, dude, don't just chill out, man. Why could it be like that? But you're like, well, they're just right back into their old dynamic. So, we talked about this before and it rubbed me the wrong way that she said, well, that's all my lawyer. Like why, your lawyer is supposed to be working for you. Why are you bringing your lawyer into this? Why is your lawyer deciding how much, whatever? But and I think the point that you made, well, actually, I
was just, it sounds to me like she has already tried communicating with him about these issues on many levels and already made a lot of concessions in her mind or whatever. And that's why it's now like, this is not about me and what I want. Like, this is what my lawyer said, just to take her out of the equation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, and when you put it in that context, then it makes way more sense because, McNulty's a big personality. He could push, and probably get what he wants.
For sure.
But again, like that addiction to the job, he talks about, it's this job, this job, and he's couching it in, possibly like noble intentions, but it doesn't really matter, for these other people. They're just, like dad didn't show up to the soccer game.
Exactly.
So it's really,
a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a choice.
Yeah, and it just definitely demonstrates the notion of a cheating police officer in a cop show is not that uncommon.
No.
But certainly like the parent, trying to be there for his kids and fighting his addiction or whatever, however you want to think about it. That does add a lot of another layer to McNulty's backstory. And I think it's something where I think originally I probably could have said, okay, fine, ex-wife, whatever. But I think it really, when you think about it in the terms of the Landsman conversation, it really does add an important
layer to it. For sure.
So, okay, that's all the backstory stuff that I had.
That's all the backstory stuff.
All right, we're not done.
We got
storylines and storylines and storylines. All right, well, let's talk about.
Okay, let's talk about where we left off last time with Omar.
Okay, sure.
Okay, so Omar, he steals the stash, right? He's got all that money. He, he shot some people. He shot somebody in the leg. Was it Weebay? No. Stangham?
No, it was Sterling. Which I don't know
Sterling.
that. Yeah, I don't know that.
What was that?
I don't know that you've been introduced to Sterling yet. Other than that, so his name's Sterling.
Okay. Yeah. So people are hurt. He gets away with all the drugs and the money. Yeah. But in that moment, one of his partners says his name, Omar. And so now his name is out there, right? Okay. So we pick up this week then, and they know, Avon and Stringer know who he is.
Yep.
And Avon puts a price on his head.
Right.
$4,000. And I think he says he wants to talk to him first too, right? Like he wants to see him first.
Yeah.
Not talk to him, probably.
Right.
He's not gonna. Hey, hey, let's have a cup of tea, guys. No, it's probably not going to be that. So we know now Omar is a marked man.
Mm-hmm.
And so a little nervous about him, but we learn more about Omar too. And we find out that Omar is gay.
Yeah.
And that partner that said his name is actually his partner.
Right.
You know, his love interest, which is interesting. And he must be in a different part of town, and he has his own kind of area that he is in control of. And, you know, we talked about last time, the epigraph was it the king?
The king stays the king.
The king stays
That's
the
right.
king. And I was talking about, you know, like I was thinking, well, you know, who are the two kings here? And you know, Avon's one. I was like, oh, is Omar the other one? And so we now know like Omar is opposing Avon.
Right.
Right. So it's just it's getting spicy.
Yeah.
It's getting real spicy.
And I love that prediction in that context. I think I you know, again, I didn't even think about the metaphor and who is the king opposing.
Yeah.
But you're 100% right. Now he has an opponent and he's picking it
because he's
out.
got his own territory and people who are depending on him. The whole scene, we talked about this before, but like the young mother that comes up and is, you know, my check hasn't come yet.
Yeah.
Holding her baby.
God.
Oof, addiction is just terrible.
Yep.
We got to work on that in this country.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's a very interesting storyline, and you know, we could talk more about Omar later. We in the past have talked about this a little bit, but making his character black and gay in this is just, it gives me pause a little bit, just because, you know, when I look at the writing staff, like it's predominantly white men, white straight men. And just when you try to authentically portray people who are marginalized in many ways, you know, poor, black, gay, I just get nervous about the authenticity of the portrayal. I start to question the authenticity of the portrayal.
Okay.
And I know you've said that Omar is like an amalgamation of characters, and that makes me even more like he's not an actual person. So that makes me even more like, you know, as somebody, you know, like who's the David Simons is the,
David
you know,
Simon.
is like almost feels like, I don't know, spelunking in the lives of these people.
Okay.
To a certain extent. This is, you know, this concerns me a little bit. So I will say that, like, when we talk about, you know, does this hold up today? I think the struggles of the people certainly do, but the way that the characters are written, and I mean, you know, like that could have been a black gay actor in real life, but and so could Kima, but they're not. I mean, to my knowledge, they are not people who have ever, maybe, you know, I don't want to say they were and were not outward about it, but to my knowledge, they were like, you know, people who had, you know, opposite sex partners and children. So I don't know, just today, I think the representation and commitment to ensure that was an authentic portrayal would be different.
Okay.
And way better.
So I will say this, there is a portion of All the Pieces Matter where they actually start to talk about that particular issue.
Okay.
About a white man, essentially David Simon
Yeah.
and Ed Burns, writing for a lot of black characters.
Yeah.
So I'll take that for homework for episode 5. Okay. I will just do a little bit of a read on it. So, but in the terms of the gay characteristic, that part I don't know what kind of guidance David Simon got. Now, we don't really see a gay relationship in detail.
Right.
So there's just an acknowledgement that Omar is gay. And the amalgamation of the characters, the ones that David Simon pulled from his experience, actually did have like younger partners that they were running with. David Simon has admitted that he assumed that there was a gay relationship, but he actually doesn't know that for sure. Okay. So there's kind of, so that's kind of the nod there. I mean, I take your point. I think it's a valuable question to pose, and as we continue on to see how the relationship is portrayed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think your point as well about whether they should have gone that direction is kind of it's certainly a risk.
Yeah.
And the actors did get quite a lot of vitriol.
Oh, did they?
From the portrayal.
Interesting.
So that's kind of an interesting aspect to consider as well. So
yeah,
it's certainly curious that they made Omar gay.
Yeah.
But it didn't really and I think it was surprising.
Yeah.
It
certainly surprised me. And I guess, I try to think about HBO at that time frame too. And still was there to them something a little bit more salacious about it to make it that way? I still, I find Omar a really engaging and intriguing character for sure. I don't at this point I'm just saying it gives me pause.
Sure.
Right? I'm still watching the series and still really enjoying it. The actor is Michael K. Williams. Yes. Amazing actor. Unbelievable actor. So I'm just, very eager to see what comes of it. But yeah, like I said, it gives me a little pause.
Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I don't have any, I don't have anything
Give
to
me
solve
answers
I can't answer you now. So anyway, okay.
Okay, so that is that story, right? That storyline. I don't know.
Oh
if
well,
there's
and
anything
then
else to add about
and you covered the
Omar.
basketball game, and now you know that now they're coming at each other, so you can see that kind of component.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even to that basketball game, just the way that Stringer throws the ball so Avon can do this easy layup. Another just metaphor
Yeah.
for their
you got it.
relationship.
Nice.
My
Well
God.
done.
Oh,
Well done.
God. Okay. So moving on.
Yep.
Moving on. Let's talk about cloning the pager and where that goes in this episode. Because last time McNulty and Rhonda had their boom boom scene, as I like to call it. And McNulty finds out how to clone a pager. Right. So we start, they're in the courtroom. They've got this guy that they got on the hands, and they're thinking, okay, we have enough on this guy to say, you're going to get 5 years in prison unless you give us some information on Avon, on Stringer Bell, on blah, blah, blah. And they start listing all these names. And the guy says, I'll take the 5 years.
Right.
Forget it. He is not going to cross Avon Barksdale. So they have nothing from that. They find out really that there's nothing that's going to come from all of these hand-to-hands for them. Nothing pans out. Not only that, but Judge Phelan is super pissed with Burrell because, he's like, this is not enough, right? You need more. And Phelan lets McNulty know that too. He's like, I'm not going to, cave to these bullshit attempts by Burrell. But we have the pager number. Freeman has found out that it goes to D'Angelo's pager. McNulty talks to Kima and is like, Daniel's like, see better.
Oh, yeah.
You bring it up at the meeting.
Yeah.
And she does. And Daniels goes for it. And even Freeman is like, you need to have exhausted all the other possibilities. And they're like, we have. We've tried other things. I think they decide they're going to detail him one more time and just, they know it's not going to come of anything. Great.
Right.
Because that's going to allow them to clone this pager.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about it. Like the moment that Freeman's in the car and he is watching over at the payphone. Oh, that's the other thing. They realize this is why the guys are all using pagers instead of cell phones, is because that's not traceable.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I mean, on their side for doing all of their deals, their drug deals, I mean, it's pretty ingenious, right, to do it that way. But now they've figured this out. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you covered a lot of ground here. So
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So first of all, I want to mention Marvin Browning, played by George Watson. He gets my killer cameo of the episode.
Is he the guy that says, no way, I'm not taking the 5 years?
Right. I'm taking the 5.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, some of the lines that he delivers are so good when he talks about every motherfucker in that tower knows a name.
Yeah.
Avon Barksdale. Know the name?
Every motherfucker up in them towers know the name. Myself, I never really had word with the man.
Stringer Bell, then. Weebase, Savino, Stinkum, CCO, Rock.
Well, who you gonna give us, Marvin? You don't say a name soon. You're gonna be courtside.
All right.
I what?
All right, I'll take the years.
I just the way he I don't know, I again
Yeah.
another great performance
Great
and just so
cameo.
good. Also, I wanted to mention if you're paying attention to episode 3, you see Marvin Browning a couple of times. Once during the buys and once when they do the raid.
No way.
Yeah. He doesn't speak or anything, but you
just recognized him?
well, after I watch it 17 times, I find, oh yeah, there he is. Look at that. There he is. So that, I love that callback. But yeah, so they hit the wall. I want to, let's see. Okay. I do appreciate the scene with where McNulty and Bunk are back in the office and Bunk says, so none of all those hand-to-hands, no, and this is, I think, again, one of those really illustrative examples of how the writers are just not, they're not going to hold your hand through this. Like, if you're like, wait, what are they talking about? Like, what, the hand-to-hands, like, what? And no, if you're not paying attention, you missed it.
Yes.
And now you're not lost, but it's just a nice, and then McNulty has this line that I forget what it is. They carry more weight than we, they have more weight than we do. We visit the projects every once in a while.
Yes,
they live there. And there's just something really deep about that, because can you imagine living in an area where a lawless group controls your behavior? Okay, again, it's a great episode except for all the sucky parts.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, we'll skip past that because we're going to talk about the investigation of the murder in a bit.
Yes.
But yeah, then so now they have to figure out this other strategy, and I guess let's introduce here. Let's talk about the conversation with Kima and McNulty on the street, and this is how they kind of devise the investigation. So because we kind of skip past that, but of course, like, we have to go back a bit and just rewind, and how Kima and Bubbles are looking for Omar's van, and Omar introduces No Hard Anthony.
Yes.
And
you don't know No Hard Anthony?
Yeah, oh God,
Miss Kima.
Who's his family?
Remember No Hard Anthony? Came up with him. They brothers.
No Hard Anthony.
Miss Kimmer, do not tell me you don't remember No Hard Anthony. Damn, girl. What time you been policing that all these years? Right now, I am personally ashamed to be your snitch.
Miss Kima. I love it.
See, again, like, he's not in that many scenes, but God,
it's
just
so great. And then he asks McNulty. McNulty
again.
You ever heard of No Hard Anthony?
Who, Anthony Little? 1058 Argyle, apartment 16J. He's up in Hagerstown on a robbery bit. What about him?
My man.
Fuck y'all.
Again, so good.
My man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, like, when she says, you ever heard of No Hard Anthony? And he recites the address, and
yes.
And so again, and that kind of connects back to the McNulty backstory, which is he's got this encyclopedic knowledge of crimes that have happened. And then, of course, like, he tells a story, and but he can't get his shit together to be at soccer for a second.
Yeah.
But in any case, so let's talk about the No Hard Anthony story when he recites this.
Right.
So who's No Hard Anthony?
No Hard ran drugs in the homes in the early 90s. So a couple of years back, I don't know why, he finds himself in Randallstown trying to take off a jewelry store. He fucks it up. Half the county chases him back downtown. And I guess No Hard figures he's not up for doing the time, because he puts a 4-4 against his chest, pulls the trigger.
44?
Gets a contact wound. Wakes up 2 hours later in the university ER.
With a new nickname.
Right.
So the question, there's quite a little bit of debate, as a matter of fact, about how No Hard Anthony didn't end up dead.
Mm-hmm.
So he tells a story about how he robs a store, and then puts a 44 against his chest, and then just ends up in the hospital. How does that happen? Right? Like, doesn't make any sense. And a 44 is a huge gun.
Okay.
So the debate initially, and has almost nothing to do with anything, but just kind of funny story is that okay, so initially when I had asked this question on the Wire subreddit, somebody said, well, basically a 44 is a huge caliber bullet and it's a big gun, which means that if you try to hold it against your chest, it's actually kind of awkward. And so when he tries to pull the trigger, it's quite possible that he like pointed it up.
Okay.
So he's got it against his chest and he's pointing, and there's no video here, but like he ends up pointing it up when he pulls the trigger, and it actually like he gets contact wound because of the burn of the bullet against his skin.
Okay.
And then, but because of the concussive force of the bullet, it misses him entirely, but it actually knocks him out. So that's how he ends up in the hospital, is that because of the 44, and the awkwardness and putting it against his chest, like he just ends up knocking himself out with a contact wound.
Oh, interesting.
Now, a contact wound, trigger warning, sorry about that pun, but if you look up contact wound, it's actually pretty bad. Don't look it up.
Okay.
But a contact wound can also happen when just the gun is directly against your skin.
Okay.
So it doesn't mean that you miss entirely, though that I think is the implication.
Yeah.
But it can also just go, because a 44 is a huge bullet again, it doesn't change direction. So it actually, if he like put it against his chest and was aiming weird, it could have gone straight through both ribs, and then gone out the other side and missed like anything important and not.
I guess that's kind of what I thought, was that there's still something like a bullet, but it just didn't go through his heart, like it didn't cause.
Yeah. So either one is possible, and so I was hoping that there was some director's commentary that talked about it. I looked at, I couldn't find any kind of story about it. So, so anyway, that was. But I love him telling the story. He knows the story by heart.
Yeah.
And so then of course and now. Important note is, though, that Kima has this other plan, is hatching this other plan to get Omar, right? Or at least to be able to talk to Omar, right? Because she says, if a guy like that's likely to have a weapon on him,
yes.
we do that, we can get...
I didn't realize that was why she said that. I just thought she was like pointing out that he was a dangerous guy.
Yeah.
But it's actually because we could pick him up for having a weapon
right.
on him.
Now,
okay.
And so they, and they're appreciative. Well, the enemy of my enemy, right? Like
right.
it's, so he's the other king on the board, and if we can get him,
right,
we have a chance. So, again, I just love that. I love that scene as well. I don't know what it is about that, but I just love the way that McNulty tells a story, and it's and I like to see those two bond together.
I do too. I love it.
Okay, so I took us down quite a long path. So let's bring this. I'll bring you back.
That was good.
And then so now they're back in the office.
They're back in the office.
And if I had one nitpick, I feel like they're explaining that normally the Wire is really good about exposition. Mm-hmm. They don't over explain, or they only explain to people that don't understand. And I felt like they're explaining to Daniels how to clone a wire page. I'm like, probably.
Yeah, I know. It does seem weird.
He probably should have figured this out.
Right.
But nevertheless, they move the scene along quickly enough.
Right,
okay with
they
it.
do.
And of course, that's how Freeman steps up, and now they've got this whole plan to go ahead.
Yeah.
So
I do love, like, in the as they're, Daniel's at the end, it's like, let's do this, and Herc's like, do what?
Yeah, exactly.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
And I think Carver says something to like. I'll explain it to you if you buy me breakfast.
Nice. Well done.
I love it. Herc is a meathead too.
Yeah.
To the end.
That's where like it really kind of, that scene with the grandma. You think he's turning the corner, but then as soon as something gets intellectual,
still just him.
Just went the other way.
He's
so,
just
and so of course that whole investigation then closes essentially with that scene where they're all okay. Here's the layout. Kima's explaining the layout, and then like, okay, well, we're gonna lose him, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, and then of course there's a bow on it when McNulty shows up at Kima's door at
yes.
So do you want to talk about that now?
Yes, let's talk about it now. Right. It was so awkward. Yeah. So awkward. I mean, first of all, Kima and her girlfriend are so cute. They're so #relationship goals. I adore them together. But yeah, McNulty comes up and it's so awkward. Kima's girlfriend answers the door and then says, some white boy for you. And she goes up there and he's just so awkward. Just
Yeah.
I don't even know what he's trying to get out of it. He's thanking her for, them getting this far, making this happen to this point, and she's kind of polite about it. But before she closes the door, you see her roll her eyes, and she goes back, and the girlfriend asks if, lovelorn, and she says just lonely.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what was he trying to get out of that?
Oh.
It's just a drinking buddy?
I mean, I'm assuming that he was there for a booty call.
You think he was there for a booty call?
Sure.
He knows she's gay, and he's there for a booty call, you think?
I don't think that logic really.
It just.
I don't think that penetrates a man. A man's head. You're like,
I'll turn
she'll turn
I'll
for me.
turn
She'll
her.
turn for me. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
mean,
what that was? Ew.
I don't
Come
know.
on,
I mean,
McNulty.
well, that's why.
No, you're probably right.
That's why I was like, cops are dogs, right? I mean,
yeah, they are. That's what she said. They're
so
dogs.
I mean, and he did. No, I wouldn't say he pulled it out with some charm, but I mean, he had plausible deniability, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's still that was still really weird. Like
it was so weird.
Yeah, he didn't. He didn't.
Still
Act,
gives me
he didn't
just,
act.
like,
The
the
fact that
weird
he showed up
vibes
was
right now.
was a real problem, but he didn't act super creepy. I guess
He didn't act super creepy. No.
So anyway, but nevertheless, yeah, that was just the fact. I love the fact that she just saw right through it. I know why you're here. Get
Yeah,
the fuck
exactly. Yes. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Good night.
Yeah. All right. So then, okay. So we've been dancing around it.
Yes.
I think, but let's talk about the Deidre Crescent murder.
Yes.
Okay.
The Deidre Crescent.
If you don't mind, though, before we get to the scene,
Okay.
I did want to talk about Landsman and talking to Bunk and McNulty.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was going to start.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just want to make sure we didn't
Come on,
skip that.
Chris. I got this.
Sorry.
Yes, it's right after Bunk says, that nothing comes from the hands,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
exactly. Okay.
Landsman drops this case and says, this murder of this woman, and I don't know, people say that she had just talked to D, or D had something to do with it, and like, oh, D, it could be a million people, and they open it up, and it's this woman who's been shot, in the chest, and it's really kind of stark, and to see it like that. So yeah, that's where where we open up with the Deidre Crescent murder.
Right.
Yeah. Shall I continue, or would you like to say anything about that?
Well, do you have anything
particular
else
scene?
about that scene?
I don't.
Okay, because the only reason I mentioned it, just so we don't have to rewind, is that is one of my favorite Landsman lines. Well, sorry, he's got a ton, but that whole part about we're gonna be catching your call, or humping your calls, catching your cases.
Your squad's down a man for weeks, Jimmy. We're gonna be humping your calls, catching your cases, hopping around like a one-legged pig town whore on check day. And for what? So that you can have your big adventure and solve everybody else's cases? Is this what I'm hearing?
He's got you, Jimmy.
Where's the love, McNulty? Show me some fucking love.
All right.
Atta boy. He's my son.
And then is this what I'm hearing? And then he's like, all right. McDonald says, all right. And then he's like, oh, that a boy. He's my son. I just love that. And then what I love too is the little bit of a preview of the interaction between Bunk and McNulty working together.
Yeah.
I really just like that.
I do too.
Whereas so call, and here's a callback number, and stuff
I know
like
they give each other shit, but they just know each other so well.
Yeah.
So well.
Yeah, that scene just moves everything forward, but there's just a lot to really enjoy about it. So
it is. And I mean, it's like, I was saying, I think maybe it was the second episode where they're interviewing D'Angelo, and I just that's right. Love their their exchange, their connection with each other. They are so in tune, and was wanting to see more of how they operate together, and we get that opportunity.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, so before I get to them, and the fuckity fuck scene investigation, we have, so Bodhi comes back,
okay,
right, and then
yes,
and Bodhi's trying to make a big deal of how he got out of juvie, and kind of gives the guys some shit, like, like, I did that, what about you? And D'Angelo's like, did you forget I was just in jail? And I've got a murder on me, which he didn't commit even, but, or did he kill?
Oh yeah, he killed
He
Pooh
killed him?
Blanchard. Pooh Blanchard, yeah.
I didn't know killed him. I
Yeah.
thought that Avon had somebody else kill him for him.
No, he just had Avon had
Oh my God.
Avon had the security lady testify that it was a different guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So he did that one.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that he murdered one of Avon's former girlfriends.
Mm-hmm.
He was going to blab when she found out that Avon had other girls that he was seeing, right?
Yep.
And he describes in detail going to this apartment and how it's dark, and he taps on the window and basically, shoots her.
Mm-hmm.
So we, and you start to make the connection as the viewer, like, oh, is this the one that McNulty and Bunk were looking at, back in the office? And sure enough, they go to the scene, and it's a great scene.
Yeah.
They say, the landlord lets them in, and basically from the moment they enter, they communicate solely through versions of the word fuck, and it is fabulous.
It is.
It is brilliant. It is brilliant. They don't need to say anything more. It's just every iteration of fuck, motherfucker. I can't, like, we should have written down how many times they actually said it. That would
I meant to count it.
That's
We have to post it.
It's fine, but it's a great scene. They work in tandem so well. One is, handing the other tape measure as soon as they need it. They are dividing the work at the scene with, Bunk's over by the window, looking to see where the bullet holes are and tracing all the bullet holes everywhere. McNulty's got a gun and is holding it at different angles to figure out how it could have shot her through the chest and come out her lower back.
Right.
It's great. I love that scene.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. So before I forget, this was based on a police officer, a detective sergeant that David Simon worked with.
Oh.
They were at a scene, and there was just the cops were just swearing nonstop.
Oh,
and this detective sergeant, Terry McClarney, started giggling and said, one day we're going to get to the point where we're all going to be able to just use the word fuck to communicate. So it was inspired by an actual police detective.
Oh my God, that is so awesome. I love it.
Yeah. So I have, as a fan of the show,
Yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts about this particular scene.
Share your thoughts.
Now it's layered, so I will say. But the important thing, or for me, in my experience, is that I think I told you before, but I had watched season 3. Season 3 was the first season I watched. Then I watched season 5. It was kind of random that I did.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I got to watch from the beginning in. So when I first saw this episode, I'd already seen the show, but I didn't really appreciate kind of what we'd been talking about this whole time about the economy of words and that kind of thing. And so I remember the moment when McNulty snaps the measuring tape on his finger and he goes, fuck.
Yes.
I was like, wait, what the hell? It kind of occurred to me that they've only said the word fuck in this scene. And that's when I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. What
is happening here? And I rewound it. I'm like, oh, and so, it just, the whole series turned for me in that moment where now I just realized, okay, this is just something I have to really be paying attention to. And because at the time I was kind of just half paying attention. I was like, oh, okay, well, let's see what happens at the end of this. Someone will explain it to me or whatever. And so now you realize you're in the show and you have to kind of deal with it. So that for me was a real turning point.
Yeah.
But it's also, this is why I tell people, if you get through this episode, first of all, this scene,
if you don't like it by this scene,
right, then
you're not gonna like this.
Exactly.
Yeah. Also, what's wrong with you?
Right. I mean, what is it like? Yeah, this scene. I'm just trying to think. I'm sure there are other creative scenes that exist that are funny or whatever, but this one just for me I cannot think of anything where I put it in the same category. Yeah. So. So that was where it really stood out for me. So, but I'll leave it there. I would also want to just point out, as an aside, there's no music, there's no score, and I really just appreciate that when you realize, as you are following along their investigation, what you're feeling and you're experiencing is entirely based on what you are seeing and the fuck, the word fuck. Whereas, and I love The West Wing. I will say this many times during our recording. I love The West Wing. but it won like 1,000 Emmys for the score, and rightfully so. But you just realize when you watch The West Wing, how much the score affects you, how you feel about what is happening in a particular scene.
Yeah.
And this scene doesn't have that. There's no like, rising violin or whatever.
Yeah, all the emotion you feel has to come from how the actors are acting and what was
exactly.
written,
So,
and how it was shot.
Yeah. So again, I love all that. So let's see. Do I have? I mean, man, I've gone all the way through that. I'm not sure if I have.
I love even that the landlord is watching and like appreciating this the entire time. Like he's got kind of like this half smirk on his face.
Yeah.
Just like, huh.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah, and and as you said, like it really shows, like you see them how they're working together, and they're just investigating on their own, and they're and they're just kind of picking things out. Bunk does this move where he's kind of like looking and he like kind of points just kind of haphazardly.
Yeah.
And then he realizes that the bullet came from outside the window, which by the way was a real case.
Okay.
That they had that David Simon experienced. So and so then he figures that out, and it just the way they build the whole
even
scene.
the way that McNulty like taps the gun on the window, and it sounds just like the way that D'Angelo said it.
Right, exactly.
When he was describing it.
So I did want to share Alan Sepinwall's summary of the scene because it's beautiful. He says, "It's a goddamn symphony of profanity," is what that scene is. At once shockingly funny as you imagine, or as you realize just how many times the F word is being uttered to the exclusion of all else, and unexpectedly brilliant as you realize that the two cops are quickly getting to the bottom of what happened here. It's almost a parody of the idea of doing a cop show on HBO, and yet it conveys so much about how smart Jimmy and the Bunk are and how well they work together that they can figure out so much about Crescent's murder communicated to each other using only that word.
Yeah.
So just a really well written summary of it.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
Yeah. I did want to point out that I have one flaw in the scene.
Okay.
McNulty is supposed to be pointing at the milk on the floor when they figure out that the bullet's in the refrigerator in the refrigerator door, and it's clearly Bunk's finger. So I was like, come on, guys. But, there's one other interesting thing. The director of photography, her name's Uda, and I forget her last name. Apparently, that they were shooting the scene all day, and a lot of the shots are handheld, which means that she's got the camera on her shoulder. So just a shout out to her for making the scene work and doing all that. And because there's a ton of cuts, ton of shots in that scene, and have to do them all.
Yeah.
Handheld is really quite something. So that was, but yeah, as I said, if you don't like the show after that scene, I don't, you're just gonna, it's gonna be a slog for the rest of the episode. So
I mean, I'm guessing.
That's what I got.
That's what I got.
So, but we don't want to forget this time, Mr. Nugget's life lessons from this episode.
What's the life lesson, Chris?
Well, I had make the case without pissing off the bosses. That felt like a pretty good one.
Oh yeah, that's smart.
I mean, if you can make the case and you can keep everybody happy, it's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
On the other hand, wrong is wrong. I mean, the fence committed a crime.
Yeah.
So,
But it's like, if it's a life lesson, I think it needs to be the first one.
Yeah, if you're a man...
If it's like, if you're getting into heaven, then it can be the second one. But if it's a life lesson, it needs to be the first one.
Yeah. If you're a man, don't go to a lesbian's door for a booty call. That's just bad form.
Yeah. Don't use highlighter on the couch. Jeez,
yeah.
Louise. I mean...
the funny... by the way... sorry, I did look up the Hicks ruling that Kima is looking for in that particular scene, and apparently
did not.
Yes, I did.
Wow.
And of course,
Dedication.
It actually is related to apparently you have to, in order to do a search without a warrant, you have to have something in plain view. Wow. You have to have the evidence in plain view. So, so I thought that was
all right.
Anyway, and I think that's how it relates to why they had to get that kind of fed her understanding of exhaustion and all that stuff. So I just appreciate that. So, all right, so. How well do you think the episode held up? I have one question. I have
really
one
well.
question.
Really well. Yeah, okay. I do. I think it. Yeah, I think it. It did. I mean, I can't speak to some of the aspects of the inner police workings. I mean, I think that there is so much that our, American police forces need to do to improve and to prevent corruption. But some of the things like the roadblocks, everything you have to do to, you wouldn't clone a pager anymore today, but I don't know. I would love to know if that is a system that is improved, if you can get through that process faster to get what you need evidence-wise. I don't know, but everything else, the themes feel really relevant today.
Yeah.
Still.
I think if there's one, and the thing that really I struggled with, and the question I had about this was, would Freeman be kicked to the pawn shop unit for pissing off a boss?
I think that's a good point. Yeah.
And because now, on the one hand, I think, no, they're so much better about, the thin blue line and stuff. But I feel like, you know what? If you piss off people inside, they might fuck you. Whereas, you know what I mean?
Probably yes, but I think that there probably are. I think there's probably like better HR representation and ways of. I guess we can only hope. We don't work on the inside. I feel like I hear stories of people being able to share that kind of stuff. Yeah. More outwardly without the blowback maybe that you would have had at that time, but. Maybe that's also because, of where we live,
right,
too.
True.
Like we're living in a more, liberal area.
Yeah.
Maybe it's different there. And maybe it's still like that there.
Yeah.
In West Baltimore. I don't know.
I don't know. It's tough to figure. So I just feel like if you get a boss pissed off at you, they will, there's a good chance they're going to try to fuck you.
Yeah.
Like even if you get rid of if you get rid of a good cop. Rawls is doing, that's kind of the same as we talked about. Like that's how Rawls is approaching it, and
exactly.
He might not care about the clearances as much as he cares about fucking McNulty.
Yeah,
so we'll
I think
see.
It's in a lot of professions where they'll just find reasons to push you out,
right?
They'll make them up or make them convenient.
So anyway, but I agree with you 100. Otherwise, but just a reminder for and then we have to get your predictions. So. Where are things going?
Oh my gosh. I want to know more about I'm thinking in the next episode we're going to get a little bit back to Daniel's potentially being corrupt. Mm-hmm. And maybe I feel like there's something going on with Burrell.
Okay.
I think there's some reason why Burrell doesn't want to go beyond hand to hands. That's more than just resources and cost and wanting, to not have eyes on, what's going on there.
Okay.
I think, I don't know, maybe he is somehow getting kickbacks from the Barksdale or some other people higher. I don't know. That's a prediction I have.
Of course, we have the pager setup, right? So
we have the pager setup. So
so you know that's coming. I'll give you that one.
So I'm wondering if they and so my prediction too is I don't know if it'll be the next episode, but I think that they're going to have something on D'Angelo and they're going to be able to bring him in and get some intel from him.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
Okay. Good
those
ones.
are my predictions.
Right, we will see how those pan out in our next episode. But until then, thank you, Ellie, as always. It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Chris.
All right.
Yeah, I just finished up my wine, so this is a good time to end.
Well, all right. I'm glad. And you're still mostly sober. Okay.
Pretty much.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Ellie. And we'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye. The Wired and Rewired podcast is Ellie Peterson and me, Chris Aronchek. Our theme song is Nice Vibes by Neon Beach. Want to holler at us? You can email us at wiredandrewired@gmail.com or hit us on the burner at 240-488-0060 to leave us a voicemail. We're Wired and Rewired on all the socials. And of course, if you like the show, please give us a rating and review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. It helps other Wire fans discover the show. And until next time,
do yourself a favor. Keep your mouth shut.